what's happening in your city. City Views, City Views. City Views, City Views. You got love for your city? City Views, City Views. City Views, City Views. City Views, oh, City Views, City Views, City Views. City Views, City Views, oh, City Views, City Views, City Views, City Views. City Views, City Views, City Views, City Views. City Views, City Views, City Views, City Views, City Views. City Views, City Views, City Views, City Views, City Views, City Views, City Views. Are we on yet? Oh, okay, we are. Good evening and welcome to City Views. Thank you, Doug, for making sure that we're broadcasting.
Again.
Yes, indeed. We want to welcome you to another episode of City Views, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jacques Williams, your host for this overview of the people, places, and things that make Torrington and the region so inviting. Want to introduce to you my two capable co-hosts for this journey. On my right is the lovely and talented Miss Melissa Crofts. And next to her is the one and only Mr. Wilbert Bowles, also known as Weebo.
I'm here. I'm here.
How's it going, guys?
Good.
Good,
Very good,
good.
very
Glad
good.
glad to see you guys can make it. And if you're wondering who this very lovely lady is in the center of our stage tonight, you know, shows like this could not happen if it wasn't for people like this. Catherine Pezzi works so hard behind the scenes to make sure that every week we have a guest here on the show and that we're on our P's and Q's and making City Views be the best that it can possibly be. So we wanted to bring her on tonight to introduce you to her and for her to be able to come out and say hi to the viewing audience on City Views. Welcome, Catherine.
Thank you.
Welcome, Catherine. We are so glad you're here tonight.
Thank you.
The heart and soul of City Views.
Well, I
Yes.
wouldn't go that far, but it's all
No.
good.
Yes.
No, you are definitely the heart. You're the heart and soul of City Views.
Okay,
Yeah,
well,
you're
thank
the
you.
Mother Wendy. You keep us all balanced.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yes.
Us Lost Boys.
uh-oh. Okay.
See, Catherine's so humble, and she doesn't want to take any credit for, you know, the things that she does. And she's always fixated on, she goes, I just do the little things. But little things do mean so much. And we wouldn't be half of the success that we are without her efforts. So it was our opportunity to introduce you to her and introduce her to you. And we wanted to let her know how much we appreciate her here on City
Thank you.
Views.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So tonight's show is going to be an interesting show. We have Richard Sear on with us tonight, and he has a fascinating story. And I don't want to go too much into it because I want Rich to be able to tell you his story himself. But we definitely want to encourage you to stay tuned. Call all your friends and neighbors to come out and check out your local cable access Altice Channel 5 right here for City Views. So we also want to take this time to thank our sponsor, Toth Insurance Agency, Steve Toth and the crew, doing a magnificent job in making sure that City Views is on the air and looking good each and every week. So we always want to acknowledge their contributions to the show and thank them mightily for everything that they do for us here at City Views. And also, the Weekend in Review, gang. Weebo, how was your weekend this weekend? I heard you two were collaborating on an event.
Yeah, road race.
Yes,
So, you know,
yes. It was good.
It was a nice crowd of people down there. And
Yes.
The band was great. Mike,
Yes. Yeah, I heard you sing.
That was my cousin singing.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I see some winking going on over here.
That was my cousin.
Okay.
Yeah, it was good.
I'm sure he was sitting on the dock of the bay too, wasn't he?
No, not this time.
Okay. All right. Was he standing by you?
Standing by.
He was standing by. I know
Standing
that
by me.
much, definitely. So, Melissa, how was your weekend?
It was, this weekend was a busy weekend with work, but one of the exciting things last week, I think it was Thursday or Friday, we had 2 Korean hikers stay with us. They ended up finding me through the trail somehow and contacted me, and one of them was actually here in the United States hiking the Appalachian Trail, and when he finishes the Appalachian Trail he will get his Triple Crown. That means that he has hiked the PCT, which is the Pacific Crest Trail, out from in California and Washington and Oregon, and then the CDT, which is the Continental Divide Trail. So then he'll finish the Appalachian Trail. And the friend that he was with, they grew up in Korea together. His friend is here going to get his doctorate at Yale. And so they decided that when they got here to Connecticut that they would hike a portion of the trail together. So it was a lot of fun to be able to give trail magic to people all the way from Korea here in the United States. Yeah.
Now that definitely sounds like the trail mix to me.
Oh, you can say that time and time again. I mean, the people that we get to meet is extraordinary. It's a lot of fun.
I can't even imagine the level of motivation that it would take for someone to make that journey.
I can't either. It does not call to me, but the trail calls to me. The community, the trail
Right.
community, it has arms that are very big and it pulls you right in. But I cannot imagine
The
doing that.
Continental Divide, I mean, just seeing that would probably make my heart palpitate and just fall out my chest. Because it's just, have you ever had an experience when you're driving, and you come, it's like this expansive just land just opens up, or a big water port. I mean, it just does something to,
Can be overwhelming.
Yes,
Can be
yes.
overwhelming and beautiful. The
Right.
beauty of it can be overwhelming. There's actually a phrase for that. I can't remember what it's called, but there is this phrase for when things are just so beautiful and so overwhelming that it's like a je ne sais quoi moment, I suppose.
Well, I can't even imagine, because oftentimes my thoughts are inundated with how the settlers settled the land. It's like you're on your little horse, and then boom. And it reminds me of a friend of mine who was describing the Grand Canyon. She goes, it's just like you're going through a little forest, some trees, and you come through on the other side, and then it's like you just get swallowed up.
Yep, this expanse is just so huge.
It's
really incredible. Yeah, I couldn't imagine. One of the things though that happens along the Appalachian Trail is through New England mostly, they refer to it in the summertime as the Green Tunnel, because it's just the green tunnel. You're just walking through the trees and the forest and it's all green. But there are so many. I haven't been to these places. I've been to a couple places in my little neck of the woods, but I get to see pictures that are posted, and I get to see the hikers who stayed with us and follow their journeys and see where they end up and when they finish the trail. And the prize is usually the picture at Katahdin. And we have so many pictures on our refrigerator of hikers who have made it to Katahdin, and they are just, you can just see the emotion in their face. Some people are jokers, others you can just see that it was like, wow, I can't believe that I accomplished this.
Yes, yes. Well, this past weekend was pretty eventful for me. Friday night we got to perform at LaSalle's in Collinsville. Your friend and our mutual acquaintance, Wanda Guzman.
Okay.
Yeah, we got together and hit with Eric Paradon and the crew down there at Collinsville. So that was a real cool
Yeah, I like it down
experience.
there.
Yeah, it's very nice. They've been going strong there for almost 10 years now with that Friday night open mic. It's very popular, so kudos to those guys. And then Saturday we had, I was a part of the backpack giveaway at Co-Park with a number of entities and groups in Torrington collaborating for that. Barrico, CSI, the Torrington School District, PAL, number of sponsors. Very cool event and an opportunity for kids to get their tools ready for school. So
That's
that
absolutely
would-
wonderful.
Absolutely.
A wonderful thing to be involved with.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's so important. 'Cause
Yep.
A lot of families are in need. So
Of course.
that's
Yes.
such a great,
big time.
such a great thing. It's so wonderful that they've kept that
Yep.
up. And
That
you
can,
know,
that
'cause
can be a little pricey getting your back
it
to
is.
school
And
supplies
it's hard
having
when
that
the kids
backpack and
go without, and then they go to school. You know, and
There's
then
a
it
little
keeps
bit of a stigma.
everybody.
different.
Yeah, and it keeps everybody on an even playing field, if you will. You know, so that just makes them feel a little bit more confident.
Exactly.
So that's awesome. That's
Yep.
really, really great.
And then Sunday, I was invited to do the entertainment for Chris Kelsey at Hanks for an event entitled Rosé on the Rooftop. So it was a full day of
play on the roof?
rosé.
they have a beautiful rooftop there, don't
It is.
they?
It's awesome.
Wonderful view there.
And the whole theme was, to dress in pink, which Catherine, you would love that.
You did not invite me.
Well, I didn't know. I didn't want you to see me in my pink garb.
Okay, fine.
But there's going to be pictures coming around, so you'll be able to check it out anyway.
Okay.
But that was a real cool event, and they had some vendors there up on the roof. And Chris Kelsey just doing an amazing job at Hanks and keeping the community involved in all the activities and whatnot
Yes.
that he's planning. So
Yeah, he does a lot of awesome stuff for
Yep,
the community too.
yep.
Yep.
just another example of ordinary people doing extraordinary things in
Exactly.
the city of Torrington.
I like the way you put that, Jacques.
Thank you very much. So in the meantime, we're going to take a break and prepare for our special guest this evening, Mr. Richard Sear. So we want you to call all your friends and neighbors. Tell them that it's going on right now at your local Access All Teach Channel 5. City Views. We'll be right back.
Cook foods to the right temperature using a food thermometer. 3,000 Americans will die from food poisoning this year. Keep your family safer. Check your steps at foodsafety.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
Did you know kids who play outdoors have healthier lungs?
Totally.
Did you know that boys that play with dolls make better husbands?
My son has lots of dolls. But did you know terry cloth diapers breathe better?
I did.
It's totally true.
Oh, yeah.
Did you guys know statistically friendly kids have more friends?
Yeah. That's obvious.
Did you know most people think they're using the right car seat for their kid, but they're not?
Parents who really know it all know for sure that their child is in the right seat. Visit safercar.gov/the right seat to make sure your child is protected.
And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to City Views. We're here with our guest this evening, Mr. Rich Sear. Rich, how are you?
I am doing very well. Thanks
Rich?
for having me on the show. Appreciate
Not a
everybody.
problem. And now, it's so ironic having you here because I've heard your story a few times on our local radio station with J. Timothy Quirk.
Yes.
Big shout out to J. Tim, by the way. He does an excellent job at WAPJ with his shows Nutmeg Chatter and Nutmeg Junction.
Yes, two great shows.
And I've heard your story and was totally fascinated by it.
Oh, thank you.
And it was so ironic that Weibo and Catherine got you on today's show. So I'm ready to share your story, for you to share your story with our,
ready
with
to
our
talk.
viewing audience. And you're real good at that, by the way. I must add.
I've had a lot of practice.
Last time I see you was on the road, man.
That was just a warm up.
A warm up.
All right, I'm ready.
Right.
And so let's just start from the beginning. Talk to our viewing audience a little bit about your motivations, how you got to this point that you are now, and some of the challenges that you had to face on this journey.
Okay, well, I'll start from the very beginning, where I was born with cerebral palsy, and I was given the last rites 3 times. They said I would never walk, never talk, I would be a vegetable my whole life. And growing up, I wasn't that. Luckily, I had really good doctors, and my mother took me to so many different places. I mean, she was 18 years old at the time. I even asked her, like, I would have taken the doctors for it, like, oh, I guess he's going to be a vegetable. I would have never even took him to the second opinion. I'm like, all right, well, guess we lost that one. No. But luckily, that didn't happen. So and it wasn't because of the cerebral palsy, because that really never affected me, because the good thing about it is that I was born with it,
right.
and I never knew any other way. So like the right side was affected. Luckily, it only affected the right hand and the right leg. It never affected my speech, never affected my hearing. But for some reason, I was severely shy, and it had nothing to do with kids being mean, because you probably heard this story before, but I'll tell it for the audience. When I was in 4th grade, I was going for an operation, and some of the kids were, what's wrong? My leg. What do you mean your leg? I said, cerebral palsy. Oh, I forgot all about that. So even back then, people just, I was just myself, and people, completely forgot about it. Yeah.
Kids can be so.
Yeah, so it was surprising, and so I don't know why I was severely shy, but around 8th grade, they brought me to the school psychologist. They wanted to know why I wouldn't talk to the other kids, and I got to say, I hope this guy got a promotion, because now I won't shut up. I don't know what he said to me, but it obviously worked. And so after that, when I was younger, I loved playing baseball, and I loved writing. So when I was in baseball, I always wanted to be, I never let anything stop me. Like I said, I always, anytime there was like an obstacle, I would say, I'm going to do it. Like when somebody says, I don't know if you could do that, I can do it. Right. And I was determined to do it. So in baseball, I had the highest average in the league. I was in the all-star team. And then in school, I used to write stories and read them to the class, and it ended up to me writing a book not too long ago, which I'm sure we'll get into later. But when I graduated high school, I always loved music, so I got involved in bands, and then I was a lead singer of a band. From there, just my whole life, the doors opened up, because then I went to Connecticut School of Broadcasting, became a disc jockey, and from disc jockey, I helped a friend. He wanted to write a TV pilot, so I said, well, I'll co-write it with you. We went down to New York to pitch it. It didn't get picked up, but still was a great experience.
Absolutely.
Then I helped another friend with a documentary. That didn't, this is the story of my life, because anytime something didn't work out, that opened up another door for something else. Right. So when I was doing the documentary, halfway through, somebody won an Oscar for the same subject. We're like, everybody's going to think we're ripping it off, which we had no idea. I had the idea first.
You can't beat them, rip them off, right?
The thing is, I didn't even know we were ripping them off. So my friend said, I always wanted to try stand-up comedy. I said, if you go down there, I'll support you. So they had an open mic at the Manchester Funny Bone.
Okay.
I told a couple jokes, got a laugh or two, and that was it. I was hooked. So I ended up doing comedy for 4 years. In 4 years, I did over 400 shows, 8 different states. Got to perform with Jeff Ross. If you know who he is, he's the Roastmaster General, which was a great story, because I was visiting my friend in Tennessee, and he was inviting people up on stage. And he said, well, I'm going to try something different. I'm going to bring people up on stage, roast them. I was like on the 3rd level. Was it Zany's County? I think I just put my Superman cape on and just flew down. I don't know how I made it on stage, but as I made it there was probably about 15 to 20 people on stage, and he's looking at me and he goes, so what do you do? I said, banker by day, stand-up comedian by night. And I hear people say, give him the mic, give him the mic. So I said, it's my big break. And so he looks at my hand, he goes, it looks like you already had your big break. So he was going on and on about this for a little while. And he goes, you know what, when you have something funny to say, I'll get back to you. So he roasted all the other 19, 20 people on stage, and he said, here you go. And I got to do my set there. Standing ovation, the crowd was screaming so loud I couldn't even hear what I was saying. It was the best experience. And the best thing was later during the show, he said, my friend's band's playing down the street. Everybody should check them out. So I said, all right. We went to go check the band out. When I walked into the club, the band stopped playing. Hey, not only is that a great guy, he's a hilarious comedian. They brought me up on stage. I started telling jokes there.
Wow.
Jeff Ross walked in there. He goes, "What are you doing? You're doing your show here now too?" So, just for anybody who's watching, I will do my show anywhere you want. Call me. I'm the Claw. Also a shameless promoter. But so yeah, the reason I want to tell that story is like, I never ever say no. Anytime there's an opportunity to do something, I just go for it. I don't even think about it, and that has led to so many different things.
Well, that's the thing that I think makes your story so compelling, because I think sometimes in our culture, there's a lot going on, and we sometimes feel defeated even before we even give something a good effort.
Yeah.
And I think the inspirational aspect of your story is that you found a way to turn these challenges into victories.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I think your story is so inspiring and should be shared with the masses, because I think in the environment that we live in, we need these inspirational stories to say, hey, things might be difficult, but keep going.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's funny. I actually did a friend's podcast, and he has a public access show. So I did his public access show, and he said, "You know what, your story is very inspiring. Did you ever think of doing motivational speeches?" I said, "Not really." And he is a pastor, and he does his own motivational, so he does libraries, schools. He goes, "Would you ever think of opening up for me?" So I did a couple, 15, 20 minutes, and the response has been great. And one of the things I always talk about to people, I said, you know what? People are so afraid of change. If you talk to somebody, it's like, "Hey, so what's new?" "Nothing." Everybody's so like, "Same as yesterday." Yeah. So for me, the comfort zone is my enemy. I hate being in the comfort zone. I love trying something new, because I like to stay. I like to keep it fresh, keep it exciting. So I always tell people, I said, you know what? Try something new that you've never done before, something uncomfortable. Tomorrow it's going to be comfortable, and tomorrow try something different. Then the next day that will be comfortable. So keep doing, and that's basically what I've been doing. I've done like radio, TV, books, road trip karaoke.
Oh, wait, hold on. That's for the next segment.
Okay.
All right.
That was a little teaser for next segment.
Yeah, that's the next segment.
Okay, but yeah, so I've done and radio with J. Timothy Quirk, and actually with that, because it's called Nutmeg Junction, it pays homage to the old radio serials like Buck Rogers, Flash Gordon. We did a live show, and at the live show, there's a acting troupe that travels all over the world, and she goes, "I love your energy. I think you're great. You have great enthusiasm." So last week, I went down to her house to audition, and now I'm part of the Grumbling Griffins.
Nice.
So just like one thing leads to another, and like I said, I never say no. So the one good thing is I don't like sleep. I don't get a lot of sleep, and I don't need it.
Okay, we'll talk about that after the show. Maybe you can share some notes with me on that, because even now as we speak, there's something in the back of my mind that's saying,
hopefully it's not me talking. Why is he sleeping?
That was not part of the comedy routine, by the way. Totally extemporaneous on that point. But yeah, I think there's an aspect of your story that I think is universal, in terms of we might be reaching for a goal. We might have an objective in mind when pursuing something. And when we don't necessarily reach that goal, we sometimes feel like we failed.
Yes.
Not realizing that we might be fated or purposed to do something else. Mm-hmm. Talk about how you've dealt with that in the tenure of your career.
Well, pretty much everything I've done. Like I started off when I went to Connecticut School of Broadcasting. I was in radio, terrestrial radio. Like the biggest station I made it to was 106 WHCN, which is FM station. Now it's the River. And then I made it to WCCC, which is now defunct. But back then I was trying to make a living doing that, and I was only getting paid $5 an hour, and I just like, there's something else I have to do. So that led me into a completely different direction, where I got a good paying job, where I was able to still do things of interest, where I was able to have fun. So now I'm doing podcasts where that's heard all around the world. I get to interview directors, actors, paranormal investigators. I mean, and I'm doing the same thing that I wanted to do, but radio just wasn't for me. There was no way I could really, if I really pursued it, maybe I would have had a career, but I'd be making like, $27,000 a year, and it would be rough. But now I get to do this, and people can listen to it anytime they want. The Claw's Corner, everybody, listen to it on iTunes, wherever podcasts can be found.
Claw's Corner.
Claw's Corner. But, so I think what I do is every time something, I stumble a little bit or fall down, first thing I do is get right back up and say, you know what, it's like they say, it's not how many times you fall down, it's how many times you get up. I never, ever think of it as a failure. I just think of it as another opportunity for something else. And like with the documentary leading into comedy, and with the comedy leading into the writing, everything I've done has always been a door that opened for something else.
Right. So now, what would you suggest to someone who might be interested in pursuing this career path? Because basically, you're a media guy now. And with social media, we're kind of media people now.
Yeah.
We're either making news, sharing news. So talk to those who might be looking at the show, viewing the show this evening, that might be thinking of perhaps becoming a comedian or a writer or a broadcaster or a book writer or playwright.
Well, I think the big thing is, I have 3 words, and this is a message for my motivational speech, is never give up. You're not going to make it, you could be lucky and make it the first month, but usually remember the days of being the 20-year overnight success. You might need a job to support what you want to do, but never give up your dream. Just keep going after it. Don't worry about what anybody else is doing. And I'm going to give you an example of what I mean by that. I used to have people say, "So Rich, how do you get all your shows? Who's your manager?" I said, "I don't have a manager." "How do you get all your shows?" I just network like crazy. I would talk to one person, and everybody was like, "I can't believe this person got that show." I said, "Why are you so worried about? They didn't get the last spot on stage. Why don't you worry about yourself and get yourself on stage?" So I think a lot more people instead of like being competitive with somebody else, just worry about what you're doing. Just like put like the blinders on and just like be focused, be disciplined. And I mean, you're not always going to make it, but I think if you're that disciplined, that focused, you're going to be able to do what you love for a long time, and you're going to have a great time doing it. So basically my message has always been, just never give up. Just keep doing it.
That's a great inspirational message. And do you feel like you've created these opportunities for yourself, or do you feel like it was kind of meant to be?
I would say a mixture of both. Like they always say, God helps those who help themselves. I definitely, the door has been open for me, but whenever that door is open, I'm not sitting there going, should I go in there? It's like, oh, you know what? I'm a little tired. I storm right through that. A couple times they're like it's partial open, like ripping right through. So I think it's a mixture of both. I see the opportunity and I seize it.
That's awesome. Well, in this next segment, we're going to discuss some of your work.
Okay.
And I'm interested in finding out what your inspirations are for your writings and what you see in the future for yourself as, I can't even call you an emerging artist because you've arrived. But there is that process, which is an ever ongoing process where you have to continually brand yourself and rebrand yourself so that you can acquire new audiences.
Yeah.
So we want to touch on that in this next segment.
Okay.
And also, we're considering having a little karaoke carpool sing-off here.
I don't think it's a sing-off. I think it's a merging of the worlds.
I don't know about they ain't no. I don't know. We might have to rewrite the rules on that one because there ain't no merging of the worlds without some vocalists coming out. All right, so
you be the judge. Wait, let me take a sip of my water first.
So you guys stay tuned. We have so much more coming up with our special guest in the house this evening, Mr. Rich Sear. So join us. We'll be right back right after this.
Viking, Packer, Viking, Packer, Viking.
Red state, blue state, vegan,
carnivore.
We come from different places.
Uptown,
Downtown.
Optimist.
We come to different conclusions.
Half empty.
Half full.
But when we live united, we create real, lasting change in the building blocks of life. The education, income, and health of our communities,
Live
our families,
united.
even the person next to us.
Live united.
Real change won't happen without you. So give, advocate, volunteer, live united. Sign up at liveunited.org.
The pain will not control us. It will never break us, define us, or keep us still. Because arthritis can't beat us if we beat it first. In the fight against arthritis, you need a weapon. What's yours? Visit the Arthritis Foundation at fightarthritispain.org.
Welcome to Fogels.
Beautiful, isn't it?
You expect options everywhere else. Why not with your medical treatment? Talk with your doctor to explore all your options and find what's right for you. Visit ahrq.gov.
Getting closer to nature can get you closer to your family. Go to discovertheforest.org.
And we're back. Just like Doug said. Where would we be without Doug, guys?
Doug.
We wouldn't be on TV is where we wouldn't be.
Yeah, I know. Checks in the mail, Doug. Appreciate it.
We taking a collection? I didn't realize it.
Oh, you want your checkbook?
Yeah. We got to give credit where money's due.
Yes, exactly. Doug, keep the great work. Make me look good.
Oh, yeah, Doug's the man.
Well, you see, he turned up the lights for you.
I know, exactly.
Yeah.
I thought that was just me shining.
A little more light for me. It's a little kind of dark back there.
Wow, see, the comic inspiration is spread throughout the cast and the crew today.
It just I guess it's like it's sieves through the veins. What I'm trying to oozes through the veins.
Yes, you brought it with you today, Rich. We appreciate that. We'll all be funnier because of it.
All right. Well, I'm glad. And personally, I have to thank Doug for making me funny. So
okay,
it all trickles downward.
All right. Now that we know where Doug's talents truly lie.
Yeah. I just want a good shot. That's why I keep giving him compliments. I'm just hoping he's going to put the camera on me every time I mention his name. Right, Doug?
No, there he goes. Yay.
Shaking his head. Bobble.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
Oh, my gosh. We're having fun
Okay,
today.
back to the topic at hand.
Yes.
Now, obviously, you're promoting your latest work.
What makes you think that?
Shirt, books.
So talk to our audience a little bit about what you're doing.
Okay, so it all started, I have a book with 5 different stories. It all started about 2 years ago, and I was doing comedy shows, and I met a person who said, Rich, I work at this place called Abilities Beyond. I'm an instructor. I think you would be a great inspiration to my students. So I started going down there and just talking about my life. And one of the students said, I was asking people, what do you want to do? And this girl said, well, I'd love to be a writer. And I said, well, what's stopping you? She goes, you're right. So I started talking to her about how I used to write when I was younger, and I said, I would love to get back into it. So then she turned it around to me and said, well, what's stopping you? I said, ha-ha, it's not your show. But anyway, so she was telling me about this app called Wattpad. And I said, what's that?
Called what?
Wattpad, W-A-T-T-P-A-D.
Wattpad.
Wattpad. Yeah, it's an app where you can write stories. So I started writing stories on there, and I said, well, this is pretty good. It's getting a good reaction, and you could tell how many views and how many people read it. So my friend, he was the one that he and I wrote the screenplay for the TV pilot. He says, Rich, I'm starting my own production company, my own publishing company. I would love to publish your book. I was like, oh, no, please, no, don't do. I said, yeah, here's all the stories. So he has a publishing company, Rayar Publishing, and we published it, put it on Amazon.com, and then was on BarnesandNoble.com. So I went to Barnes & Noble and I was trying to, do some self-promotion, which I know you find it hard to believe, but yeah, I went down there. So the manager at the West Hartford Barnes & Noble said, well, did you ever think of doing a book signing? I said, not until now. So I went down there and they said it was the biggest local author book signing they've ever had there, because I sold 20 books and I just ran out. And I could have sold more. They said most local authors sell about 2, 3 at the most on a good day. So it's been going very well. They actually tried to get it put into the system. It went so well, they bumped up the corporate so they can have it carried on the shelves, which worked for a little while. And they're having some issues where it's missing in the system. I don't know what's going on. But what it is basically is 5 stories. And if you're a fan of the Twilight Zone, the original Twilight Zone with Rod Serling, you're going to love this book because it has a mixture of like horror, comedy, drama, has everything you need. So
that was one of the things about the Twilight Zone that always kind of fascinated me, because when you're watching, it's like, am I supposed to be laughing, crying, or running for my life at the moment?
That was a good show.
That's
those
what
are
great
great
shows.
shows. And great shows.
And that, maybe when I was, it was always one of my favorite shows growing up. But I think it's just, I grew up watching a lot of horror movies, but one of my favorite type of horror movies are the ones that mix comedy and they have the twist ending. So I really wasn't thinking consciously, like I want to make it like the Twilight Zone. But then the more I was, been asked this question, like, what would you compare it to? I said, it's exactly like a Twilight Zone episode. And it's 5 different stories. Each one is completely different. And like I said, I think that, it doesn't matter what genre you like. If you like horror, you're going to like it. If you like comedy, you're going to like it. Drama, so it's called Confessions of a Frenetic Mind.
So as you're saying that each of the 5 stories are independent of each other.
Yes.
So you don't have to follow, you don't have to start with number 1 and end at 5. You can watch any one that you want to.
Yep, you can start the last one.
Where does one find these?
You can Amazon.com or you can go to Barnes & Noble. Unfortunately, like I said, there's some issues with them carrying it in the store right now, but if you ask them at the desk, they can order it for you.
Well, that's good to know. Thank you.
And
so what inspired you to write this book in terms of having these 5 stories that combined into one, instead of maybe elaborating on each story individually?
That is a good question. That's why you're the host. But I think I started writing, and it's sort of like I never intended to write a short story, but when I was writing, the end just came. I'm like, instead of elaborating, I said, all right, that's one short story. And then I did the next one. I'm like, all right, well, I guess that's another short story. And finally, when I had 5, and that's when I said, well, why don't I could just combine it instead of coming out with 5 separate stories.
Yeah.
So I never really intended to write it as a short story. And actually, if you want to get technical, 2 of them are novellas. I guess there's a word count. So there's 2 novellas and 3 short stories. In the writer's world, this is how we would call a novella.
There you go. A novella.
But so I just never really planned on it. I just, wherever, it's funny because I have an idea in my mind and I start writing, but I don't really know where it's going to go.
Right. And
there's one story, and it's the first one seems to be most people's favorite. It's called Robbie's Revenge. And when I was writing it, I was so into it. There was a part of me where I was like, I can't wait to see what's going to happen next. I was like, the characters were like writing for me. Because like, all right, is she going to go? No, she's not. What are you doing?
That is incredible. That's really funny.
So talk to us a little bit about the
talk about your medication, Rich. Okay, I'm sorry.
No, I want to entice our listeners to, our viewers to check out the book. So give us a little more.
Okay. Well, there's 5 stories. Like I said, Robbie's Revenge, which seems to be a lot of people's favorites. That's about a printer that draws caricatures, but when it draws a caricature, it changes the person's personality. Like he'll draw like a smile, they're happy as can be, all of a sudden draws a sad face, all of a sudden changes to really sad, then draw a little sinister face. And there's a lot of things that happen in there, like where it starts controlling other people, and then it's see, he's hooked already.
That's mad, bro.
Yeah. And then
that's mad.
Then the other one's called, another story number 2 is called The Lincoln House Massacre.
Yes.
2 kids, they're a little on the sarcastic side. They go on a haunted house tour and they think it's all fun and games, but then they bring back something home, and let's just say it's Mrs. Lincoln. She's not too happy and she's not too nice.
Ooh, that sounds really cool.
Yep. Yes.
And then you got another one, Can't Catch a Break, Brake. A little play on words, and I'll tell you what I mean. another sarcastic person. Maybe this is based on my life. You asked me before the show. Very sarcastic. He goes to get his car fixed, and let's just say he doesn't make friends with the mechanic who's fixing his brakes. And something goes wrong with the car, but there's also another twist in there. And another one, The Dark Secret. It's this story came from real life.
Yes.
I was reading a story about this Uber driver in real life where he killed somebody, but he wasn't missing any of his roots. He'd like kill somebody, pick up another person, drop them off, kill somebody else. I said, that's a good story. Good place to start a story.
This is a real story?
No, that's a real story. But my story takes it completely in a different direction where, let's just say, I sort of based it like this story I wrote in the first person, so I'm the main character, and my father has somebody who has some dark secrets in the family. Not in real life. It's all fictional. And then that was 4 stories, and the other one is trying to remember what the other one is. Taking Care of Business. That's one of my favorites because it all started. I love going to the horror movie conventions. I meet a lot of different actors from the 60s and 70s and 80s. My favorite era growing up. So this is where I get to interview a lot of people. I interviewed Linda Day George and the guy from Wings. So anyway, when I was there one time, I bought this casket. It was about this big, and it. They were like, next time, Rich, you're sitting on that side. So the casket, you plug it in, and it goes, help me, help me. So I said, oh my God, this would be a great story. So let's just say this young couple goes to a convention, buys one of these caskets, but then the younger brother doesn't like her sister's boyfriend, and something happens with him in the casket, and then help me.
Oh dear.
So, and it all goes with the Taking Care of Business, the BTO Turner Bachman Overdrive song.
Some of these are reminding me of the old show Creep Show.
Oh, I love this.
Do you remember Creep Show?
I love that show.
These are reminiscent of Creep Show.
Yeah.
I loved that.
Well, it's funny that you mention that because Stephen King and Joe Hill, who's Stephen King's son, probably 2 of my favorite writers.
Yeah.
And I guess you could say I'm inspired by them, but when I'm writing, I'm not even thinking. I'm just thinking of like different ideas that I come up with, and maybe subconsciously or unconsciously, I'm thinking of stories like that.
Stephen King has some really great short stories.
Oh yeah, he definitely does.
Shawshank Redemption. What was the one with the boys?
Oh, Stand By Me.
Stand By Me.
Which is
Great.
really called The Body.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, some of his best stories are his short stories.
Were made into excellent movies as well.
Yeah. So
maybe we're going to see some of your short stories made into some excellent movies as well.
That would be great.
I think that's a clue to Dan. Make sure that you archive this particular episode so we can come back and claim our royalties from Rich here.
Still trying to get money from Dan. So.
Dan got it.
Yeah, any of you Hollywood directors out there looking for me, you know where to find me.
Uh-oh, who do we have calling
Sounds
into the
like
show
we've got
today?
a call coming in.
We'll see what's going on with that.
Hey, from Hollywood.
I'm curious though, Rich, when you're writing, there's different perspectives that you can write from. Which do you prefer? Do you prefer the first person? Do you prefer the third person? Do you prefer a narrative? What's your choice?
I usually use the narrative, but I have one story in the first person, another one in the third person. So I think the narrative is probably the most common, but I think with me, I was just trying different things, and when I was for The Dark Secret, I was more comfortable in the first person, and the other one, Taking Care of Business, let me do the narrative. So it's not really that I'm more comfortable with one or another. It's just like, let me try and see what works best for the story.
Mm-hmm. So you're totally objective.
Yes.
Instead of more premised.
Yeah, it basically goes back to everything I said. It's like, don't be afraid of something new. Just try it and see what happens. And if it doesn't work out, then go back to like the narrative or go back to the first person. So I just, whatever I feel most comfortable with that story where I think will work best, I should say, work best for that story.
Mm-hmm. So how many works do you have to your credit?
5. No, I have 5 that are published right now, but I am working on some more. I have like 5 or 6 other ideas that are just circulating through my brain right now, and I have the first draft of one pretty much done, and then I'm going to go through like second, third draft. So here I had this advice from another author, and I think it works best for me. Write a story, let it sit for about a month, maybe 2 months, because then come back to it, and then it seems fresh, because then you're like, oh, actually it's not as bad as I thought, or actually it's a little bit better than I thought. So I have if you look at something the next day, you start editing, because I know people that edit as they're writing. To me, it's too fresh in your brain.
Right.
You have to like take it. It's more objective if you like take a month off and go back to, which doesn't mean I stop writing something else, but I'll just write something else and leave that story for a month, and then go back and write, the second draft.
There you go. Excuse us for a moment. We have Michelle Cook calling in for our What's Cooking segment.
What's cooking?
Let's see what's cooking with Miss Cook. Good evening, Michelle.
Hi, Michelle.
Good evening,
Michelle.
sir, and how are you?
Very well. Glad to see you made it back in one piece.
We did make it back in one piece.
So tell us, how was your trip?
The conference was amazing. Met some incredible people.
Yes.
I mean, there's nothing better than listening to Dolly Parton speak. She was our keynote on Monday. We had Wes Moore. I highly recommend you all look him up. He has written a couple of books, and he was our keynote on Wednesday, told his true story about how two different people with the exact same name and their different paths in life and who came out which way. We had Meacham was there on Thursday. So we had a great crew of just amazing speakers, let alone all the other knowledge institutions. The governor of Tennessee was there, the lieutenant governor was there, the governor of Illinois was there. We had the Speaker of the House from Hawaii was there. So, it was an international conference. We had legislators from Guam, South Africa, the Virgin Islands, Canada, all over the place. It was just incredible.
And how did you get Dolly Parton up in the mix?
Hey, she is a Tennessee girl through and through, and she has an incredible program called Imagination Library.
Yeah.
Where she donates, millions of books to kids, and so she came in and talked to us about the Imagination Library and what the benefits are and how they've seen the importance of teaching kids and putting kids books in the hands of young children, and what that does twofold or threefold, if you will, for early childhood education and getting children ready to learn and the ability to be prepared for school when they get there.
That would have been worth
some of the achievement gaps.
That would have been worth the price of admission alone.
Oh, absolutely. And then, when Wes Moore spoke, he spoke about, there was two kids with the same name, him and another kid. They were the same age from the same block in Maryland, near Baltimore, and how, the different paths took them in different ways, and how different family members can help you steer in one direction or the other direction, and how that is just, depending on your predictive circumstance and the directions that you have and the people that are forcing you to do things, how that can change your life. And so I actually just went and bought his book and to read it. His story was just absolutely amazing, and so I will give you more reason, more info after I finish his book. But he was just an incredible speaker as well. And like I said, when you put people like that on the table in a room full of people, both Republicans and Democrats and unaffiliated voters from all across the country, that's how you make change happen. And that's, I think, the whole point.
Amen. Now, I'm kind of shocked, though. I didn't think anything good came out of Baltimore. But I guess...
Well, I may argue. But I'm not from Baltimore, so I can't speak to that, but I would say this fine young man did. He was relocated from Baltimore to New York, so maybe that helps you a little bit.
Well, you know what they say, if you can't make it in New York, you can't make it anywhere, right?
You can't make it anywhere else. So.
Well,
so how are we all this evening?
We're doing well. We have Rich Sear here with us this evening. He's our special guest and has such an inspirational story, and it was really nice to have him on to share his story with our viewing audience today. So we're going to get back to him for our close right after we finish talking to you. But last week we did have an opportunity to have Kevin Wickos call in. And I was talking to him. I'm not sure if you're familiar with this, with the payroll deduction, the payroll tax commission. Are you familiar with it?
Yeah, I am familiar with it. What do you? I talked to Kevin yesterday. We were in a meeting together. He said that he pinch hitted for me.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get some more information for our viewing audience on that particular commission and what's coming up. It's very interesting in terms of how it could really help the state gain an additional revenue stream. And
so what I'll do, because I know that they're working, it's an ongoing process.
Yes.
What I will do is actually I'm back on for tomorrow. I'll do some research on your payroll commission. I'll get you some information, and then that way you can share it accordingly. He did not tell me that you guys were looking for any further information, so I'm sorry, or I would have had it prepared for you.
Well, that's okay. I didn't know exactly when you were coming back, but we figured that we'd nip it in the bud one way or the other. Because you're thorough. Because you're thorough like that.
Yeah, that's how much you listen to me, because I told you I was going to be gone until Thursday. But that's okay.
Now you figured you would want to come over here and reveal that.
Look, I tell you very clearly, I'm as transparent as they can. So, in all transparency, I'm going to need another fill-in for next Tuesday, because I'm going to be fortunate enough to go see my son abroad. So, Chris and I have never traveled together in 26 years, just the two of us. And we are going to go abroad to see Ryan in London. So I will work on getting you a fill-in. But this is I've never been across, and I'm very excited about it. So, but I will definitely get you some information about the payroll deduction group and get that to you before next week.
Yeah, and what is that under? Is that the SALT? Is that the acronym for the State and Local Taxes Commission? Is that what that is?
I think that's what that is. I just want to double check. I want to give you all the accurate information, so I can give you the website, how to track everything, and how to pay attention to what's going on.
Okay.
I will get you all of that, and I will make sure that you have that before next week.
Awesome. You're the best, Michelle.
And everything else is good. Any questions? Anything? Anybody call in, see if there's anything that they need, or we're all moving forward here.
Well, we're in the process of getting some things. Let's just say we're working on some show infrastructure at the moment. So when we kind of nail down these aspects of the program, I'm sure we're going to need your expertise in a couple of key areas.
I'd be happy to help. And, before we hang up, I want to say this, too. So yesterday I sat in a meeting downtown off of Center Street with the developers that are going to redo Franklin Street.
Yes.
And, the lieutenant governor was here, so, we have the administration following the project. And I think that for those of us that, live here in Torrington that have not followed the project, that are, or maybe not know what's going on there, I highly recommend, possibly you getting, the mayor on to talk about the Franklin Street project and what the vision is and what's happening, because I think it's going to be an incredible project and just do some amazing transformations for downtown and, to do some, housing, affordable housing with some commercial space and great walking space. We have some things that could be really cool here. I know that we're all frustrated with the trying to get around town and all the construction, but there's some underlining things here that are really worth us paying attention to and letting the public know what's going on.
Well, definitely, we'll share that information. But yeah, there's some things that we definitely need to discuss, because we had a caller that called in last week that was very concerned about the lack of road repair work that he feels it's been kind of overlooked. Mm-hmm. So, how...
and I think that if it's local, I mean, truly, and I think that this is important, if it is local, and, most of the Torrington roads are local roads, that's definitely something that maybe you could have the mayor come on and just say to her, where are we going and what are we doing? I know that I drive around town and I can't get anywhere quick because there's always work on one road or another, whether that be utility work or other work. But there's an asset that you have sitting there that would be able to give you all of that information, unless it's a state road. And if it's state roads, then I would love to know where people feel that there needs to be work done, so that I can put those requests into the Department of Transportation.
Well, Weibo and I were talking before the show about about doing just that. So we are on it, Michelle.
You guys rock.
And we thank you so much for contributing to the show as always. You're a huge part of what we're doing here, and we thank you for all your efforts.
I'm honored to be a part of it, and you guys can get back to your special guests because those folks are very important.
Yes, they are.
Yes, special. Very special.
Well, Michelle, are you there?
Yes.
I don't think you
I'm
remember
right here.
this. You were on an episode of Nutmeg Junction with me.
Yes, I was.
Yep.
I remember that.
Yep, that was the first episode
That
we
was
ever
the-
did.
That I was going to say that was the first episode we ever did, but you see how good I was? They haven't called me back to do it now.
Well, only because you changed your number. Well, it was great to hear you again.
No, nice to hear you too. I'm glad that we can put our voices to the same pattern again.
Thank you
But
much,
if you all ever need me back, just call me. I'm happy to be there.
All right,
Wonderful.
I will let Joe know, and you're always welcome here, obviously.
All right. Well, thank you guys. You all have a wonderful weekend, and I look forward to talking to you soon.
Thank you, Michelle.
Have a great day.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Bye, Michelle.
Bye-bye. Michelle Cook, what's cooking? Now, before we close the show, I don't know. What do you think, Weebo? Maybe a little karaoke carpool sing-off here, man?
Let's see. So you're part of what, the carpool karaoke?
I know that there was a request made
There was.
that was not fulfilled.
Oh.
Because you had to be a big shot, didn't ya?
I wish I knew the
open
words.
up your mouth.
I would sing the verse to you if I knew the words right now.
So I think that might be the song that is going to have to happen. We're going to have
right.
to do some Billy Joel.
Big Shot?
In fact, I think we should do a Billy Joel medley, not just settle for Big Shot.
All right.
I've got it all in my vehicle. The Princess is set and ready to go.
Now, I don't get this. You're carpool karaoke, and you're doing Big Shot by Billy Joel instead of Chevy Van by Sammy Johns.
I love that song too.
Or Pink Cadillac by The Boss.
Little Red Corvette.
Little Red Corvette. I mean, come
Dick
on now.
shifts
You got
and safety belts. Bucket seats have all got to go. Who's that from? Who are those guys? When we're driving in the car.
Yeah, you guys got to get together as far
We're
as
going to have
your-
fun.
your
Get it
themes
together.
are
Get it
concerned.
together. Get it together. We're
Just-
going to get it together.
Yeah, we are. Bowfinger. Yep.
Get it together.
Yep. Anyway, so it's a great movie, what she's referring to. I love that movie with Eddie Murphy and Steve Martin.
It's actually keep it together. Keep it together.
Yes.
Keep it together. Keep it together.
But as soon as I get the words, I'm going to sing any song that you put in front of me.
All right. Not a problem. It's a challenge. We're going to do it.
Yep. Because I do road trip karaoke. She does carpool karaoke.
Carpool karaoke.
And
fun.
very scary that we're both driving while we're doing
Worlds
this.
colliding. Worlds colliding.
I think it's going to be more like cars colliding.
Yeah, wait a minute. Hold up. I don't know
Leave
if
that
you want
alone.
to promote those metaphors here.
It's going to be
Yeah.
a big hit.
Worlds colliding. That's from Seinfeld. Costanza. Worlds colliding.
Well,
Ah.
well, I'm just saying, I don't know if it's the best analogy that we can use under the circumstances, so we might want to rethink that. Nonetheless, Rich,
Yes.
it's been a pleasure having you on the
Yeah,
show
great having me.
this evening, and we definitely look forward to having you back. And
I'd love to be
because
back.
what we're finding out is we bring a guest on for the show, and an hour goes by so fast.
Yeah, I do.
And what we find out afterward is that people are like, "Wow, we wish we could have gotten more information." So
I know, I only made it to age 5, so we have plenty more to talk about. You can do a whole series on me.
Well, don't put it past us. But nonetheless, as always, we want to thank our audience for joining us this evening. We'll be back again next week. Who's on the show next week, Weebo?
It'll be on Facebook.
It'll be on Facebook.
It'll be on the Facebook.
So
We'll
you're
make
going
sure
to
to
keep
post
it a
that.
surprise
Keep it
for
a
us?
surprise.
Okay. So check out Facebook to find out who's on the show for next week. In the meantime, it has been fun, but as the clock on the wall says, we got to run. On behalf of our guest, Rich Sear, Michelle for What's Cooking, and of course, Catherine Pezzi, and our sponsor, Toth Insurance Agency. We'll see you back next week right here for more on City Views.
What's happening in your city? City Views, City Views. City Views, City Views. You got love for your city? City Views, City Views. City Views, City Views. City Views, City Views. Ah, City Views, City Views. City Views, City